Good morning. I'm Alzado. I'm here to make a quick commentary about the hardest thing I've ever had to do, or at least one of them. And it relates to the Vatican and the priests and the bishops, the archbishops and the popes' responsibility with regard to the pedophilia and pederasty that is taking place in our country and worldwide in Europe and Latin American countries. When I was a young guy teaching in any capacity, I never crossed that line. I never crossed the line from teacher-client, teacher-student. In particular, I used to teach tennis at the University of Virginia, and I was 19, 20 years old, and I had 16, 17-year-old girls flirting with me all the time. I never crossed that line. You have to train yourself. You have to make it a habit. You have to make it a rule, a principle, not to do it. Because if you do, it's a slippery slope. And I never did, and I remained their teacher. With regard to teaching in schools, I did the same thing. When I was teaching at our church, it was not difficult to cross that line because you're doing religious, spiritual principles. That's a safe setting, inherently. But in other schools, when I used to teach at private schools and public schools, from middle school to high school, there was no real restrictions per se. But it was my philosophy. Do not cross that line. I am their teacher. They're young. These kids are very impressionistic. The teens in particular are sensitive to many different things and prone to suicide at a higher degree than they've ever had before. So I know if I did cross the line, the negative ramifications would be huge. And I know that because in the reverse, the positive effects are enormous. If you could have a good, wholesome relationship in a mentor-mentee relationship with a child, that influence is powerful to a positive degree and scale. I know because to this day, my English high school teacher has an impact on how I think, what I do in my life, and how I am and be as a human being. To be or not to be, that is the question. And he really had an influence on me in that regard. So when in my high school, the priest was finally found or prosecuted for sodomizing one of our students 20 years after the fact, he was arrested. He was put to trial and put to jail. That is what needs to be done with the Vatican and the Catholic institutionalized canon authority that protects as an umbrella these priests and bishops who are raping our children. That needs to be done, and the Pope has made the right decision to open that door, to prosecute, to report these folks to the authority and the police, and to move forward to make sure that we continue to have our children in a safe and open environment. Thank you.